In the early 1900s, filmmakers had a problem. Location, location, location. At the time, directors were looking for places that had good weather year-round, something that early production hubs like New York, New Jersey, and Chicago couldn't provide. But in 1911, the moving picture World Trade magazine highlighted Los Angeles, California for having 320 days of good weather each year for filming. And then everyone started packing their bags. Added bonus, LA is centrally located to a variety of different onset locations. Desert, beaches, mountains, cities, all within a reasonable driving distance. At least faster and cheaper than getting on a flight. But in 2025, the climate in Los Angeles just isn't the same as it was in 1911. And it's getting worse. As the climate becomes less temperate, what does that mean for the industry? Will the movie-making capital have to move elsewhere? And what does that mean for the thousands of LA professionals currently working in entertainment, not to mention those aspiring to? Back in January, LA County was hit by devastating wildfires, which destroyed over 57,000 acres and forced more than 200,000 people to evacuate. As the earth grows hotter, disasters like this will only intensify. And right now, LA experiences way more extreme heat days than it used to. The city is also warming at double the global average rate due to factors from the regional climate and something called the urban heat island effect. Basically, cities just tend to be a lot hotter than rural areas due to a higher concentration of buildings, infrastructure, and people, which LA has a lot of. Not only are production crews dealing with hotter days, they're also facing an increase in the kinds of natural disasters that can stall out a set. Wildfires are just one of those natural disasters, and they have become significantly larger, more frequent, and more intense over recent decades. So, if the weather in Los Angeles isn't as temperate as it once was, will the film industry have to move on to somewhere else? You could argue that the industry is already moving. According to data published by Film LA, shoot days in Greater Los Angeles were down by 22.4% during the first quarter of 2025, which is when the wildfires hit. And that was following 2024, the second slowest year for production on record in Los Angeles. The only year slower for filming was 2020, for obvious reasons. Production companies have already outsourced a lot of film shoots to other cities, Atlanta, Georgia, and Vancouver, Canada being two of those top destinations. Over the past decade, Marvel has spent more than $3 billion in the state of Georgia on their cinematic universe. And even before 2020, Vancouver was a huge hub for production, with a long list of blockbuster movies and popular TV shows shooting there. Deadpool, Godzilla, Final Destination, Juno, Jumanji, 50 Shades of Grey, Supernatural, iZombie, The 100. The list could go on for longer than this video. So yeah, there are concerns about production leaving LA already. But the reason that cities like Atlanta and Vancouver have drawn more film shoots has nothing to do with their climate resilience, and everything to do with taxes. The bad guy is always capitalism.
And what's sort of fun about that is the people who made the game are always winning and will always stay winning.
When we first set out to make this video, our initial hypothesis was that as LA grows hotter and droughts and wildfires become more frequent, it makes less sense for the city to remain at the center of film and television, and places like New York, Atlanta, and Vancouver would take its place. And maybe that could still happen, but it's not going to be climate change that drives that decision. It's going to be money. Remember when I said that one of the main draws for LA was its temperate climate? One of the others was cheap, non-union labor. Capitalism! Hollywood has its problems. For one, it is probably the most difficult it's ever been to break into the industry. After talking to some of the people working in that industry, it's clear that climate change isn't the issue.
I see every day on alumni pages, people saying like, hey, is there work? And people are like, no, don't come. Like if I wasn't here already, like if I was in Miami still, I'd definitely be staying in Miami until it was safer to be out here, because I graduated before the strikes. I graduated when there was work, as much work as there could be after the pandemic.
10 to 15 years ago, like early Netflix, when everything was being greenlit, there was so many shows like happening. So that was sort of like at the start of big streaming, and it's just only petered out more and more now. Studios are being less risk taking than they were, about 10 years ago or so.
Do you think that the film and TV industry will move out of LA in like the next 25 years or so?
I don't think so. I think the film and television industry has already moved out of LA in the last like 20 to 30 years. And I think what's remained is probably what will stay remaining. So you have a lot of shows filming in Atlanta, you have a lot of stuff filming up in Canada and Vancouver. And that happened kind of in the last like 20, 30 years. And now I don't necessarily see a shift one way or the other more. I just think it's sort of stagnated. Because I do think at the end of the day, you know, actors, writers, showrunners, they're still living in LA. And so there's always going to be a want to keep some parts of the industry in LA. Development is not leaving LA. Like, I think, you know, you have some development stuff in New York, but the agencies, the, you know, headquarters, development quarter, they're always gonna stay in LA, I think. Writers' rooms largely stay in LA. So even if a show is filming up in like Vancouver, you know, somewhere else, those writers' rooms are usually still based in LA.
So it doesn't look like the entertainment business will leave California entirely. There's already so much infrastructure there. The studios and sound stages, the agencies, not to mention the professionals who've already settled and made homes there. And in terms of threats to the film industry overall, climate change is not on the top of that list. Strikes, AI, and the compounding difficulties of getting work keep them plenty busy.
I don't know if it's a concern of the industry, but it is something people are talking about. But I think it's more of like a human thing, you know, like what are we bringing our kids into, that kind of thing.
Let's reframe and look at what really matters. As temperatures rise in LA County, what does that mean for the 9.6 million residents that live there? By 2050, temperatures are projected to rise significantly, with the number of days over 95 degrees tripling. This means that air conditioning will no longer be optional, but a necessity in basically all buildings across the county. And as temperatures rise, it increases the thirst of the atmosphere, which leads to more intense droughts. More intense droughts also means higher risk of wildfires. More wildfires means more smoke and worse air quality. More wildfires could also lead to more floods. As a recent report explains, the fires in Los Angeles followed 2 years of wet winters, which encouraged the vegetation growth that became wildfire fuel. Now, the metro's burned areas lack the vegetation that can absorb water, making them more vulnerable to flood. It's not Mad Max Fury Road, but these projections aren't great. Drastic changes need to happen in order to mitigate these coming threats. But LA County is making some of these changes. As of June 2024, LA County officially adopted its 2045 Climate Action Plan, which lays out ambitious targets to cut greenhouse gas emissions. The plan includes strategies like transitioning to zero carbon buildings, expanding renewable energy, and updating building codes to support more climate-friendly development. The actual impact of these strategies will depend on how much funding is put into them, but these vital adaptations won't come cheap. If you're an LA resident, here are some of the things you can advocate for to push for changes that will help the county quickly gain the resilience it needs. More stringent building codes and regulations, upgraded water infrastructure, fighting against corporate water giveaways to big agriculture and fossil fuel industries, fresh fuel reduction, which could more than offset the increase in wildfire danger, and a lot more. Climate change isn't just coming. It's already here. The world we live in now is not the same one we grew up with, no matter where you are. Los Angeles is an amazing city, full of passionate, creative people and an incredibly diverse makeup. It has amazing food, and it's the center of pop culture. It would be terrible for part of that to be lost. More than that, for those who can't relocate for whatever reason, it would be an unfortunate reality for their lives to get a lot harder. We started making this video with the question, how will climate change impact Hollywood and the film industry? And the answer was, no one cares, not even the people who work in that industry. The real question, which is harder to answer, is how will climate change impact the 9.6 million people who still live there?